Voting for the NAITSA Executive Council election starts on February 7th, but how do you decide who to vote for? The Nugget has you covered. We've assembled a panel of informed perspectives and asked each candidate the same question. What is your highest priority in office, and how do you plan to achieve it? I'm Aaliyah. I'm the senior editor at the NAIT Nugget, and I have voted in 6 Executive Council elections.
Hi, I'm Teaira. I'm the current VP of Finance of Pride at NAIT, and I'm also work for NAITSA for the Ooks Life team.
Hi, my name's Danielle, and I'm a NAITSA senator, and I sit on the NAIT Board of Governors.
A disclaimer, answering was optional and every candidate was given the same amount of time to plan and answer. The candidates did not know the question in advance. If anyone chose not to answer, we'll make that clear in the video.
We'll be analyzing their answers in 3 categories: presentation, practicality, and presence.
Presentation is about how they answered. Were they confident, well-spoken, or were they nervous?
Practicality is about how realistic their plan is. Can they actually do it in their role?
And presence is all about their experience. Do they have a past role that would help them answer better or succeed? Let's discuss.
Well, hi, I'm Earl Forman, and I'm running for VP Internal. Hi, my highest priority in office would be to raise student quality of life. That's my overall goal, and mainly when I want to talk about that is to kind of achieve that would be speaking with campus planning at NAIT and kind of going around making a plan of what areas that students feel like they don't have. For particular outlets is a spot for myself. In some classrooms, there's just no outlets for students to plug their devices into. And the laptop is kind of something we all carry with us all the time. And it's kind of the convenience of our entire student lives. It's our crutch in a sense. And some classrooms don't have that. And I know myself, for my program, I need an outlet. My laptop burns through battery like you wouldn't believe. But yeah, speaking with the NAIT planning office, trying to figure out what is best, what areas are being used by students, but also making sure more quiet study spaces are available. What areas can be used to kind of use for alternate uses besides classrooms if they're not being enough used, or possibly looking into opening up classrooms during these common periods, like lunches and whatnot, so students can use them more freely. So I'd also probably like to touch on outlets, chairs, also seating for students. Some areas can just be really crowded, particularly the HP building. I find that kind of suffers from not having enough seating during times like lunches and whatnot. So this is where we can kind of blend into looking at using up classrooms. But basically overall, raising student quality of life is my #1 priority, but making sure that these little changes that could help improve students' lives are also be able to communicate it to Executive Council so that changes could possibly be made.
You did seem pretty nervous, but who's not nervous when asked these kind of questions?
Mm-hmm. And only having 1 minute to prepare too, even though he seemed a little nervous, he still kept pretty organized and was able to go further with what he meant by improving quality of life for students.
He was a bit jittery throughout the video, just like a lot of hand movements, chair swinging side by side, but overall I think it was pretty good.
At least he had an answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The outlets probably isn't a super realistic thing that can happen, just because, how are you going to put in more outlets in already made buildings unless you find different alternatives to do that.
And for the better seating for students, I do feel like this is something that comes up every single year in the elections. Every year there's a student who mentions this and campaigns based on it. And it makes me wonder how much change is actually done with the seating, because if it's a continuing problem, maybe it's because of our population growth, but how far can it really go, I guess?
And he also did mention a point about having classrooms open to some students because there's less seating areas as well, but it might become a security issue just knowing we're by 118th Avenue and anyone could really go into the classrooms, and apparently teachers are supposed to lock the doors, but that's something that's not happening.
But it does have potential because of T109. That is a space that was specifically a classroom that was made for students. Mm-hmm. So as long as we, he works on it and all the potential issues he works out, I do think it's a possibility to provide more spaces like classrooms for students.
And I think improving student access to the Executive Council is also really important, and he did mention that. Mm-hmm. So overall, I think some pretty realistic answers.
as someone who used to be on the like UX crew, the volunteer team at NAITSA, and then becoming a OLT member, now like campaigning, I think that's a really good roadmap and experience that he has.
And I know in the video he came off a little shy, but just knowing his background, it makes me question, okay, this person probably isn't as shy as they seem.
That's true, like especially just with the camera in front of you, having a minute to prepare for that question, it could be quite tough, but just knowing his experience as well, I think if he does become VP internal, he would guide the OLT team really well.
I think really, really great presence, and winning the NAITSA Volunteer of the Year award is very, very good.
Yeah.
True.
I'm Teaira current, and I'm running for Vice President Internal. So my highest priority in office and how I plan to achieve it, my highest priority is creating a space where I can really understand the pulse of the students and understand how the things that they really want to have in NAIT. So I want to make sure that the voices of the students are accurately represented. I also want to achieve, finding advocating for inclusivity and diversity and equality on campus. And I feel like the way to do that is by, echoing these voices and just representing the campus and all the students on it accurately. So in order to do that, I find that the best way is to really just get in there and talk with the people, make sure that I really do get an accurate pulse of what's happening, what the students are thinking, and being able to really reflect that in the campus life. And so that is my highest priority, and just want to make sure that everybody feels heard and seen during their time at NAIT.
I'm not sure she really answered the question.
And once again, nervous, but that can be explained by only having a minute to prepare. There was like a lot of like ums while she was talking. She was kind of slipping on her words a bit, which is understandable.
To be honest, I think she delivered pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was a little bit more confident than the past video, but again, she did not answer the question fully.
She seems really confident, but it did seem like maybe a lot of things she was saying was not super direct, I guess.
Yeah. Pretty important that when you're running for a role, you kind of know what you're directly going for, and like just focusing on like, general, like, like DEI and making sure that like inclusivity is like worked on and everything. It's a very general thing to say, and there's not like a real like, this is how I'm gonna do it. There's no real like steps to how she's gonna achieve that.
True. I feel like with those initiatives, it would have been better if she had an action plan so we could better understand what she would do.
Or even using her past experience to kind of leverage some plans that she might have, and also being a longtime student since 2020, I feel like she, going into the role, should already have an understanding of what students need on campus.
Because like just saying, I'm going to talk to students, like, okay, what students? You can talk to people in clubs, because there's a lot of like multicultural clubs. There's a lot of like queer clubs. You can talk about the departments at NAIT, like ICC or the OEDI. Like, there's a lot of answers there that could have been said, but weren't. I think the club experience is great. I like people who work in clubs. I feel like they care about something, they're very passionate about it, and they want to work on it, because running a club or helping out with a club is a lot more work than some people think. It's really rewarding, but if you're just a member of a club, you don't really understand all of like the behind the scenes stuff. So she's like passionate about working with the Idea Marketing Club and being there. That's something to look at.
And the Idea Marketing Club is a pretty popular club at NAIT, I'd say. So I think that also goes back, though, to like maybe she should have more of an action plan based on having this direct line to the people in that club.
Also, she says she's been a student here since 2020 during the COVID period. I'm not sure if she might have some gray areas around the role, just because it might have been online and it could have been like her first year on campus, possibly.
I think overall, the answer for me was a bit too generic.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Anubhav Nundloll. I usually go by Anu, and I'm running for the position of VP External on the NAITSA Executive Council this semester. So the question I was asked was, what is your highest priority in office and how do you plan to achieve it? From my own student experience and from the feedback I've heard from friends, classmates, and people that I know on campus, I think my main priority will be making sure that the executive council of NAITSA is in touch with the student voice. So making sure that everyone's needs are being heard. Now, whether that means those needs can be addressed or not, I think that we should try our best. And the way that I plan to do that is through, first of all, continuing the check-in events where you can directly meet with the NAITSA Executive Council, as well as potentially introducing an online forum where you're able to directly give feedback to the Executive Council. And through that, I hope that the NAITSA's VPs and president are more aligned with what the student body actually wants.
Presentation-wise, pretty good. My only thing is that I don't think it was specific to the VP external position, just his answer was more to like the EC, which isn't a terrible thing, but I would also like to hear more is what he's gonna do as a VP external.
I kind of liked how he included the EC just because they're going to be working as a team. Like he wants to make sure they're in touch with their goals and like meeting student needs, and that's really important, especially in Senate meetings where they set certain goals for the year, and he wants to like just make sure they're all on track with that. So I think that would be like a really good quality just to have like on a team.
Yeah, seems like he'll be able to hold the rest of the EC team accountable for what's happening, which I appreciate.
With like the 1 minute preparation, he did come up with a good answer.
He did say when he started, he says he's gotten feedback from his friends and from students on campus, and he's very involved on campus too, so he does have like direct access to the student voice as of right now, and I think that's really important. And he started with saying that he knows what they need. I just wish he maybe would have mentioned that a bit more, like mentioned what specifically.
You did mention about that online feedback form, and with the new Ooks Life app, like maybe that could be integrated, and with the new EC platform online.
And it's nice that he wants to stay consistent with what's happening right now, and then like even just improving that. I do wish, again, I heard a little bit more about what he wants to do.
In his write-up, he does have quite the list of specific goals that he wants to make as VP External.
He is very involved with like the work with the IICC, OWLs, that's in the student life department, NAITSA, like all of that. Like he is with the students. He's like worked with so many students and probably understands them.
Like with all this experience here, knowing the external role, he'll have to go to the other campuses. Like just the involvement here, like imagine what he'll do on the other campuses. I think it would be really good.
I agree.
He was easy to listen to.
I think he would be a really good voice for international students, and I think that's important in a VP External role.
Hello, fellow Ooks. This is Robin again, running for your VP External. One of the priorities I plan to adhere if ever I get elected to the Executive Council is, of course, the student welfare. That's why NAITSA is here. That's why we're here. It's because of the students. So whatever needs, whatever concerns that the student has, we aim to address it. At the same time, I want to make myself accountable too, and make sure that I'm doing a good job in my job. And I would like to make the other ECs accountable too, because we need to work as a team and to ensure that we represent NAIT's students' interests in our hearts. Because this is what NAITSA is all about, and this is why you, our fellow students, are given a chance to vote and select your student leaders. And rest assured, whatever happens, even if ever I get the chance to win, feel free to approach me or maybe book an appointment in my office, and let your concerns be known, and we'll try our best to address it, whether in in this NAIT level in the school, or maybe externally, like maybe the municipal, provincial, or federal government. So rest assured, whether you're a domestic or international student, we're here for you, and that's part of our mandate. So thank you.
I don't think he answered the question.
I don't think he answered the question. I think he included a lot of like fluff in what he said that maybe to someone who doesn't know anything about the VP external role would sound good. You know, he has a good presence and a good voice.
Yeah.
But I really don't think he said anything that was super important.
He did mention that he wants to address student needs, which is also like a broad sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think he could have like delved more into that, definitely.
It's, once again, just no one really seems to understand what VP external does, going and talking to like the government and stuff. Like, yeah, that's expected of you.
Yeah.
It's not a goal, it's literally going to be your job.
Yeah, and I did notice when he brought that up and he said, maybe going to do this externally. Well, it shouldn't be a maybe because that's the role.
Yeah. I will say though, like his background at NAIT is pretty good, like working with the Senate, volunteering, like he's like been around the students. He also understands, like hopefully like that he's talked to them and everything and interacted with them. That's another positive thing to look at.
Involved on campus, maybe not quite as much relevant experience to this role as the other two candidates.
There wasn't really an answer there for what he's going to do and how he's going to achieve it. So there's no real, it's the practicality there.
Something reflected in the video and on the paper, he does mention affordable and transparent tuition. Then in the video, he mentioned student welfare, so I think he will highly advocate for that, and hopefully that's something he could do.
I think based on his write-up, he did have an understanding of what students need, but based on his answer, he didn't have any way of following through on that.
Like it seems very just general.
I think I'd want to know more about what kind of experience he might have outside of being on the Senate that would make him a good person to advocate for, advocate externally outside of campus.
He could have brought some Senate experience, like answering questions or creating relevant questions, liaising with the EC right now, so he has an idea of how they operate.
Hi everyone, my name is Thien Vy, and also known as Steve on campus. I am running for VP External, and I'd like to address a question. What is your highest priority in office, and how do you plan to achieve it? My priority will always be for the students. I want to make sure I advocate for every voice that is heard. I understand that there's strong opinions, and some opinions that not quite negligible, but are tolerable. The focus that I want to look at are the emerging problems that may come up in the future, as well as some underlying issues that have been going on in the past. I understand that the municipal UPass is going on at the moment, the referendum, and I will strongly like to hear what everyone's opinions and thoughts are, and I encourage everyone to think about your financial needs, your peers, and anyone else you may help with this UPass referendum. I would also like to look over the satellite campuses such as Patricia and Souch, because I want to make sure that every NAIT student is heard and seen and represented.
I think he knows his role completely. Just when he mentioned the other campuses, that's the main thing for VP External, and I feel like there's not enough light shed on them.
I actually have the opposite opinion.
Really?
I feel like he doesn't fully understand what he needs to do. Because he brought that up at the end, but for the first part he was talking more about like very general things, like that all, like once again, all the ECs have to worry about.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think some of the things he was saying was maybe not super relevant to the question. Like when he said, I know there's lots of different opinions happening, some are tolerable. What do you mean by that? And what issues are going on campus? I want to know like what the issues are and how your role as VP External how you're going to act on those issues.
Though he did seem very calm, at least.
Calm and collected.
The experience on the paper, really good.
Yeah, excellent.
But
Yeah.
he didn't deliver it in the video.
Yeah.
I think that could have been like a strong point if he
Oh, yeah.
brought that up and explained it a little bit more.
His role in the government, or past experience, I should say, it would have been really conveying even more.
I like how he has experience as an OLT member with NAITSA, but then he also has that experience that's really relevant to the VP external role. So being employed by the federal government, training under the Transport Canada and Immigrations, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, I think that's so relevant to the role, and I wish he would have mentioned that and what he learned from it that he could bring to the role.
Yeah, something like everyone's going to be struggling with is like understanding the role, even though
That's
like
true.
it hasn't been around. So
But he does have a persuasive voice, which I think is
That's what I was
important in
trying to
this
say.
role.
yes.
My name is Emma Anderson, and I am running for the Vice President Academic role. So when I'm asked about what my highest priority in office is so I have three main points: the quality of instruction, consistent services, and no low-cost textbook options. My highest priority would be the no low-cost textbook options because I have a couple ideas for how to get that out already, because the University of Alberta and my time there has helped me figure out how they've done it and what has worked there. So at the University of Alberta, for their codes, so like for simulations and if you have to do quizzes through a textbook, they would give access to students on campus at the libraries, and you would just have to go there, and then it would be a free option. And at NAIT, there is no option like that currently, so you have to buy the code every single time, and that gets extremely expensive. And then also at the University of Alberta, during their course selection, so this is more so for programs where you sign up for the courses yourself, you can see if there's a no-cost textbook option, and they've really implemented using the third-party open resources and everything like that. So modeling some ideas after the University of Alberta, trying to implement it for NAIT students, because NAIT students definitely have a different requirements with textbooks and everything like that. So the no low-cost textbooks would be my highest priority off of my list.
I really like how she reiterated her goals that's already on the article. She made it clear, she even said it in order, so if someone's like watching the video and looking at her article at the same time, it's really easy to follow through. She was also really transparent about the low and no cost textbook options, and she also brought relevant experience like from her U of A when she was still a student there, and I feel like it's realistic just because U of A did it and like she has an idea of how it went, and hopefully that could be transferred here.
Yeah, she absolutely knew what she was talking about too.
Oh, yeah.
Like going into it, she definitely has a plan. Like she's prepared to take on this role if she does get the position. Her confidence in like what she hopes to do. That's a pretty good thing to have.
Yeah, if she is able to implement her plan, this is something that could save students hundreds of dollars a semester. And I personally, as a student, do get frustrated when you're required to buy the textbook just to do the online quizzes. It's super annoying.
Clearly is a possibility to happen if it's already in other institutions, so that all we have to do is just bring it here and make it work for our students, because obviously there's going to have to be differences.
The low or no cost textbooks, like having it on a computer, going to the library and getting a code from your teacher whatsoever, I'm thinking about like the different schools, like there's schools of transportation, like the trades. I feel like it might not work the same for them because like with business being obviously the biggest school, like it would be very beneficial for us, but just like considering everyone else, I'm not sure that might be an option, especially if people are from home as well.
She did mention that she would change it based on the needs of NAIT students.
Yeah, true. And like also with her experience, like with NAITSA and like even in the service hub, like it's bound that she's like dealt with the questions that students have like regarding these kinds of things.
That's true.
Whether it's her job or not, like sometimes like students come into the NAITSA office and ask anyone questions. So I feel like she has a good understanding of like what students need with this.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point.
She was very sure, like as I said, like she understood, she was very sure of what she was saying, and that confidence is something that like I think should be like kind of respected going into this, because again, you only had 1 minute to prepare and she knew what she was talking about.
Yeah, she was very assertive with her speech, and like she just coordinated her point very well.
My name is Fraser Sockett. I am running for VP of Academics. All right, so my highest priority in office is to enhance the mentorship programs that NAIT currently offers, and I plan to achieve it by working with the BIC Center, as they are starting a brand new mentorship program, as well as be working with the current mentorship program that is run by NAIT, with Melissa as the main person running the program, as I'll also be using some of my experience from being the CPHR campus ambassador to NAIT to influence and enhance those mentorship programs. I have plenty of networking opportunities that I've had in the past, which I'll use to help me build those mentorship programs. That is probably my highest priority, as I am a huge fan of mentorship programs, as they really enhance the academic journey, which all students will be on in their time at NAIT. I have been a part of it from the mentee and mentor side, and I've learned quite a bit from being a mentee. It's an education that people will not get from learning in the classroom or books alone. It's something you have to reach out and experience yourself to really experience. So yeah, that's my highest priority in office, to enhance the mentorship program so you can have an amazing academic journey. Thank you.
So he technically answered the first part of the question, but I don't think he really answered the second part, like about how is he going to achieve it. There's no explanation of like what he's going to do. He just said, I'm going to do it.
He did mention that he has some connections from networking events and he knows a few people at the BIC Center. He mentioned Melissa. I'm not too sure who that is, but I guess she's involved with the mentorship program somehow. I feel like connections would be beneficial in a way, but I don't know how much they would be willing to contribute.
I think he had a really good main focus on one issue he wanted to tackle during his time if he were to be elected. But I will say that the speech that he wrote for the Nugget did not come off very authentic to me compared to the video. And there's a lot of discrepancies between this speech, which I feel like has a lot of fluff in it, and then him actually speaking to students, which I think he has a really good presence.
I agree. I feel like this one was a little bit more genuine. Like I felt him like actually speaking to me compared to this one. It's just like sort of generated.
Yeah, there's nothing really going on in here.
Yeah, and also he does have good experience.
He does.
With everything that he's done on campus. So that could be very important, like going into this position.
I think he's really good at talking to students and addressing their needs. And I also like how he mentioned networking, because that's important too.
Yeah. But I just wish there was more explanation on like how he's going to do everything.
He had said that he was part of the program too, so I think he should have some understanding of what happens there. And I would have liked to hear more about that.
Yeah. It's probably more of an advocacy thing, because if it is like a NAIT program, he doesn't have direct say in what happens there.
I don't know a lot about the mentorship program, but if this is something that not a lot of students are utilizing, his like main focus being this, I don't know if that's like really like super beneficial to the student body as a whole.
I know that VPA, they work with Peter LeClaire, he's the VPA for NAIT, and Marina and him, like they're always meeting, like they have these weekly meetings, and I feel like if Fraser were to be in that position, that's something he could bring up to him. But as of like right now, like there's not much
to go off of. Yeah.
Katherine Hawn for VP Academic. If I had to choose some key issues that I would be working on as VP Academic, it would be academic integrity, fair and transparent grading, mental health initiatives related to academics, and really representation for whatever comes next. I have a lot of experience working with NAIT and NAITSA. I've been on academic council. I've been in some of the rooms that the VP academic would need to be in already in order to accomplish those things. And I look forward to being in those rooms again. I would love that. Basically, I would use my experience in protocol and policy development to work on those policies with the people who have the control over them. It's not always us as students, sometimes it's government or the administration at NAIT, and I look forward to collaborating with everyone there.
So she definitely had like a prepared answer, like not like that it was like pre-whatever, but like she was prepared to answer. And it seems like she does like know a lot when it goes into like what needs to be done in order to like achieve like any goals. But yeah, she was very, very quick, and I wish there was a little bit more detail about like that. Like it was just kind of like statement, answer.
Yeah. I like her focus on academic integrity. I think that is something that's really important because as she says in her write-up, the NAIT name will always be on our resume, so it needs to mean that we're skilled and qualified. Yeah, I work really hard here, and if there are other students who are kind of, cheating their way through, using a lot of AI, it feels really frustrating to me, and I think that there should be some more consequences for that.
Yeah.
The fact that she mentioned she sat on academic council and she's been in a lot of those rooms where policies are made, I feel like she really knows the other role of VPA, I guess, just because they liaise a lot with the board up there.
I'm curious about what other programs she has taken at NAIT because she probably has a decent understanding of the different types of programs here and the different types of learning for each program, and I think that is a really crucial aspect for the role, and that's some kind of special experience that she has, as well as like a vast experience of a lot of other things, a lot of presence.
Yeah, she has a lot of experiences here at NAIT, and she probably knows how it works in different schools here, and can probably be a voice for more students than if it was just like one program.
Yeah.
Based on how she speaks, it makes me feel confident that she can get things done, but I would have liked to hear like a little more from her.
Yeah, true. Maybe like a more specific answer, because I just wanted clarification again on which point she prioritized, but she kind of just named all of them and kind of generalized all of them. I think she presented herself really well. Like the order of things she talked about was very coordinated.
Yeah, very confident, good presentation. Maybe could be a bit more practical.
Yeah, it felt more like I'm giving you an elevator pitch instead of I'm talking to you kind of deal.
Yeah. There's maybe like a level of professionalism that she has that might not be relatable to the entire student body, even though I do think she sounded really good.
Yeah, she did.
Hello, my name is Salinderjit Kaur and I'm running for VP Academic. My highest priority in my office would be whatever concerns that students might have. As I have been saying this like many times, each and every concerns that you have are valid, and I want to advocate for that. Even as a student representative in the academic council, I have been listening to all the concerns, and during while making recommendations during the meetings for any of the academic policies, I had students in my heart, and as a student I kind of understand what we all go through, and the way I want to achieve it is I will always have an open communication with anyone coming to my office or meeting me during my time on the campus. I will always look at my emails or my messages on the meets or whatever communication channel that we might have. I will always reply, and I will always consider what the other students are asking me. Even if I don't have the answer, I would try to stay resourceful and maybe find the answer later. And a lot of you might have already seen me around the campus during my volunteering period, and you might know that I am someone who is approachable, and I want to keep it the same way as it is now?
I don't think she answered the question. I also didn't feel like she had an understanding of what the role is.
That was very much just her talking about like her job as an EC, like the expectations. Like, yes, that is what you need to do. What more are you gonna do? What more are you gonna offer?
Yeah.
Like, and also like, what are the concerns? Exactly.
Yeah.
Like just saying, I know the concerns of the students. Well, academically, what are those concerns?
And the practicality around that, she says she'll have open communication. But how? Like, what's your backup plan? Even though you see the teams chat, like you, as an EC, you're literally working like almost 40 hours a week. You have a lot of meetings like per day. And what if, what's this called? Like teams might not be the best place of communication for everyone. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there should have been more of a backup plan to that. But yeah, I don't really think she answered the question.
There was.
I think she has some really good experience, but I don't think her presentation was, it didn't seem very confident to me.
Like volunteering, like you do get around and you do get to talk to the students and you do get recognized. And maybe like if she was in the position, like students would feel comfortable talking to her because of the volunteer work that she does. But it's also important that you are confident in what you're going to be doing as a VP academic.
True. I feel like her article here didn't really match the video. I'm just skimming through this again. She says that I have seen students expressing concerns about the lack of availability for classes that are in person. I feel like that's something she could have prioritized on.
Yeah.
Instead of just like concerns to umbrella the whole thing.
Yeah, that's something that she could have focused on and said, these are some possible ways that I'm going to be able to make this better for students, because I agree that is a frustration for a lot of students.
It's a VPA role, it's strictly about academics, but I mean, you could always talk to the EC about anything if you have any concerns, but maybe students might be delivering her, if she was the VPA, like the wrong concerns, and she would have to constantly direct other students to different EC members.
Yeah, that's something that her speech kind of gave off to me too, is maybe students seeing that would get the wrong idea of what kind of concerns they can bring to the VP academic. And I also don't think that there's probably going to be a lot of student concerns that realistically can't be addressed.
Yeah, or like there's other like resources that are like more fit for student concerns than like let's say EC. Like
nothing very specific to VP academic role.
Yeah, I feel like she might not know all that goes into the VP academic role based on the video and even her paper.
Just remembering that she only had a minute to prepare, maybe she forgot she put this in her article, but I feel like it's something she could have emphasized on since it is there.
That kind of makes me think that maybe this one concern that she mentions in her article, if she didn't even mention that in her speech, how important really is it to her?
Yeah.
My name is Brayden Shopland, and I'm running for NAITSA president. My biggest priority in office as president for NAIT Students Association is to hold NAIT accountable. And every decision that they make, we've noticed that they tend to push student needs, their concerns, their issues aside. They run NAIT like a business rather than thinking about who their biggest stakeholder is, and that's the students. They're the heart of this institution. So if you don't consider their needs, their concerns, their issues, their experience at NAIT, whether that's in the classroom for academics, that's getting food on campus that fits their dietary needs, whether that's walking on campus because it's an icy sidewalk or through construction. Anything at NAIT affects your experience. Every decision that the institution makes at any level, but really at the top leadership level, they need to consider students. And so in all the meetings that we've been doing it this past year, I want to continue doing that as president, leading the whole new team of vice presidents. There's going to be 3 new vice presidents. Last year, it was just me. I was a new VP, but Marina and Jenna, they were returning. This was their 2nd year. I would have been lost without them, truly. And that was just 1 new VP on the team. This year, there's going to be 3 new VPs. I want to lead them because there's a lot to learn in this job. And the work that we've been doing this year as Executive Council, it's not going to end April 30th. It's not going to be wrapped up with a bow on it. I want to help continue that work. Through all the meetings I'll have with NAIT, I will always always consider the impact on students. So please vote Brayden Shopland for president.
Amazing video. He truly understands like the student body, what's going on, and I think that's really thanks to his experience as our like right now VP internal, because he has had that closeness with the students because that's a part of the role, and he knows like what the needs are.
I think Brayden's presentation is excellent. He's great at speaking to the students and coming up with like a comprehensive issue that all students can really relate to. And of course, like his presence, he's our current VP internal and he's been effective in that position. And I think he made a really, really great point of how there's going to be 3 new ECs. I think it's really important to have someone with experience on the executive council.
I really like how he said holding NAIT accountable. Like all these priorities here, he put it under a perfect umbrella term. I really like how he mentioned the topics under there, like food needs, walking safety. By holding NAIT accountable to that, like those are just like some examples to like give students, and I feel like that would help them understand it.
Yeah.
And I really like how he says he wants to lead, like the 3 new vice presidents, like how he said he had Jenna and Marina there to lead him, and now he wants to do the same. So I feel like that would be really inspiring.
And it's true, like NAIT has been showing recently that they do not care about his students as much as they should.
They're really showing that they're running as a business, and Brayden called them out.
Yeah.
And I want someone as president who's going to be able to call NAIT out and be a great advocate for students.
The only issue is that it can still be very tough because he can only do so much. It can be very tough for to get NAIT to listen. So the only thing is is he actually going to be able to do this? I hope. That would be a great thing, but it is going to be an extremely difficult task, and I'm not entirely sure if he will be able to fully do it, but there's always that hope that he can.
I'd like to add on that, like let's say he does make it to the next election and gets that president position. They usually vote as EC who would sit on the board of governors, and I feel like he would be the perfect fit, and him being president, he just has more of a voice and probably the privilege to try to be able to convey them.
And I do want Brayden and someone who has this experience, I want them to be able to continue doing all of the hard work that they've already done and kind of keep going with that and keep that momentum going in the EC. He doesn't just understand students like him. I feel like he's really speaking to the entirety of the student body. Like in his write-up, he says he wants to observe NAIT's response and commitment to supporting international students instead of seeing them as just a revenue source.
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
It might have been a time constraint, but yeah, it would have been nice to know, okay, where are you going to go talk? How are you going to do this?
Based on his experience and confidence, I do feel like he'll be able to address things, but maybe it just wasn't exactly answered as direct as it could have been answered in his response.
Yeah.
His whole message overall was very transparent. The article and the video just was very contrasted as well and just made sense and probably will open up a lot of students' eyes.
Yeah.
My name is Lilly Houcher, and I am running for president. The question, what is your highest priority in office and how do you plan to achieve it, is something I thought a lot about before deciding to campaign, because this is what my platform is built on. And after a lot of thought, the question that I asked myself was, why do people go to post-secondary? Why do people go to school? I wanted to really get into the brain of students of why do we show up to class every day and why do we study for assignments and tests? And I came up with, we want good jobs and we want to be a top hire when we graduate. And so that is something I stand for, is I want to promote NAIT students to the business and trade world. I want to use my platform to be a voice for NAIT students, and NAIT has a great reputation, but I want to get in the businesses and in the trade world and talk to those people. There's places called BNI and the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce and Atchison Chamber of Commerce or Parkland Chamber, it goes on. And to get in those places and be a representative and a voice for NAIT students, because that's why we come to school and that's why we do post-secondary. And I was really drawn to presidency because you have a team that work with you, and other people will be able to help me and help you all have fun in school while you're at it and have events and clubs, because we don't want to just study at school, but we also want to have fun. And so that's what I think I want to bring into this, is I want to promote us, I want to promote NAIT students, but I also want to have fun doing it. And yeah, I think that's why I'm the best pick for president, is I will advocate for you and what you want.
I feel like she's not really advocating for NAITSA students. From the NAITSA level, it feels like a board level, like NAIT board level a little bit, because that is their ultimate goal. Like, they want us to have jobs. Yeah. At the end of the day, they want NAIT grads to be the #1 hire. Industries, especially trades, I think she kind of emphasized that with like the Atchison stuff. I don't
think she knows what this role entails, and I don't think she knows enough about NAITSA as well, and what we like do for the students, because she's so focused on what happens after school, like after you graduate, and it's like your priority is the students when they're here.
Mm-hmm. She's not speaking to NAITSA members. She's kind of more so like advertising NAIT, which I don't think what she said is like bad at all. Mm-hmm. It is to a degree like practical, but at the same time, what makes her think that this isn't already happening? Because as a NAIT student, I do feel like I am connected to a lot of industries already, and my instructors and my program does a really excellent job at doing that. And that's literally what NAIT's all about already. Yeah. So she also doesn't have a lot of presence at all. Yeah. I don't see anything about her leadership experience, and she's going to be leading a team, and I do like how she mentioned the team, but you're going to be the leader, and I want to see just complete confidence and knowledge of what the role is, because it is a really important role. What we want as students from the president, we want, like you said, I want advocacy for my time here as a student.
Just from the video, I feel like she emphasized more the VPI roles.
Yeah, and I wish she had like more experience too, like involvement with like if it was volunteering, if it is with club work, if it is like anything like that. Like, I feel like with the president role specifically too, like it's important that they have like at least some experience in working directly with the students somehow.
True.
100%. I think she is probably the least experienced out of every single candidate. Even though she's campaigning for president, I feel like that's someone who should have a lot more experience.
Mm-hmm. I think she spoke really well. She was assertive. She didn't stutter once. I feel like she was just very well presented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Her presentation is great, and I do feel like she has a lot of potential to be a leader. Mm-hmm. But at this point, I'm just not seeing that kind of tangibleness.
I wish she talked a little bit more about NAITSA. I think it would have brought a little bit more clarity on her video.
Makes me think she doesn't understand, like you said, what NAITSA is and what NAITSA stands for.